Where should we start then? I guess it all started in the off-season, the prep for this season. We learnt a lot from last season. Last season we felt we were a really good team at getting results with an amazing team spirit. And if you look at the amount of last-minute goals we scored last season, it was incredible, really. But in my head, if we were going to evolve and get better, we had to find a way to, or build a squad and come across a style of play that would help us dominate games. That would be the difference. So we started to build a squad from there, really. We wanted to be a squad that, or a team that not just found a way to win games, but dominated games. And in that sense, that would then make us a more consistent, reliable team about getting results. And the recruitment was really good. As always, some don't quite work out, and I always say that those players it doesn't work out with, it's not down to them being bad players, it's just down to the fit, really. It's down to the style of play we wanted or the environment we want to create just maybe not fitting with that player. It's not down to that player's ability. So obviously some people that we did sign in the summer are no longer with us. But we felt like we recruited really well for a specific purpose, for a specific style of football. There were off-field challenges, of course, with the running track having delays, so that didn't enable us to get work on the pitch. But I think the start of the season really showed what a team we wanted to be, what kind of team we wanted to be. In terms of personnel and style of football. We had a fantastic August. I think we won 4 and drew 2, unbeaten. And one game that sticks out in my memory is the Welling game away, where we scored a last-minute winner that day. And I think we knew that we had a better squad in terms of quality, but we weren't quite sure whether we had the same togetherness, grit and desire to go and get results when perhaps things are against us. And I mentioned last year we scored a number of last-minute goals to win games, and it was brilliant, that Welling game, that we managed to do the same and score a last-minute winner. And I think that's when we knew we had something quite special. We had the quality, but also the same desire that we had last season. And I think we knew at that point there that we were confident. So a great August that led into a indifferent September. We went away to Yeovil and got a point. And I look back on September as the curse of last-minute goals. So we went from scoring against Welling in the last minute to win a game to, I think, 4 games out of 5 in September conceding last-minute goals to either draw or lose games. And I think we went the whole of September without a win in the league, unfortunately. And I think all but one of those games were down to or the result was down to us conceding a last-minute goal. So that was tough. And I think we first came across in that month, and then going into October as well, teams obviously realised our quality and came with game plans. They came with game plans against us. And I remember one game in particular, which was Chippenham at home, where that was the first moment where I saw a team come to Melbourne Park or play against us and give us so much respect and sit in and try to stop us, and then play on the counter-attack, almost negate what they're good at, and solely focus on stopping us and countering us. We found that a bit difficult. We didn't expect it. Like I say, it's the first time in my tenure that a team or teams had started to do that against us, and that was full credit to us, really, and full credit to our players and the squad that we've got and the way we were playing. But we had to find a way. We had to find a way to negate that, and I guess that was our first experience of, I guess, being classed as a top team. We had to rebuild a little bit. We had to find a way, and I think, although I think we were unbeaten in October, we drew a few games. I think we only won once, which was away at Western. But we just tried to tinker with, one, the system, but also just tweak the style of play a little bit to perhaps take a few more risks with the football rather than be so possession-based. And we worked really hard on in possession on a bit of a counter press, i.e. it was actually probably beneficial for us to lose the ball, because then we won it back really quickly and we had men around the ball. And that counter press, when we lost possession, we felt like we could catch opponents out in their transition to counter attack. So with the ball, we had to find that way, and it took us probably October and November to find that, and it actually took us going down to 10 men in a couple of games to find that within us. And also without the ball, in terms of our defensive structure, we were very open and expansive in August and September, and that left us vulnerable for when teams did come and sit in the counter-attack us. So we had to try and negate that somehow. We had to tweak our in-possession style to stop us being vulnerable when we do lose possession, if we aren't able to win it back quickly, because we were conceding quite a few goals on quick counter-attacks. And a mixture of things, a mixture of us with the ball, but also personnel. We brought in Finley Barbrook and Henry Ochieng in the middle of the pitch to try and negate that somewhat. And I feel like we found that, and probably going into December, one pivotal game really, but it was more the meeting before the game on the Thursday here, where we got together as a group and we reflected on the season so far, and we reflected, or looked forward rather, to the season ahead, and really quite in a detailed manner set about what we wanted to achieve. Well, first and foremost, what we expected of each other, and then what we wanted to achieve. And in that meeting, not only did we reflect on the first half of the season, we also reflected on the previous 5 National League South seasons and what constituted success to the teams that did get success in those seasons. And we then looked forward and asked ourselves what we thought we could achieve. And from that game onwards, or that meeting onwards, which was the meeting before Torquay, we've almost been unstoppable. I think we went 6 wins in a row, potentially, from Torquay to the double games against Braintree. And we had Worthing early on in January. We had some tough fixtures in that period. But it was almost like we set ourselves an expectation and a target, and we set about a relentless nature, a relentless attitude, and nothing was going to stop us achieving it. Yes, we started off 2024 flying, really, full of confidence. Every player playing their part. I think the majority of players started at least a handful of games, and there's 2 games at the beginning of 2024 that stand out in my memory, and one was Hemel away. We'd brought George Alexander to the club, who we feel would just give us that extra little something, and really pleased that we're able to be able to bring him in. He's someone whose finishing ability can win a match, and we saw that last season actually in our playoff game, that there wasn't much in the game at all. Went it to extra time, still not much in it, but 1/2 a yard that Sean Jeffers got at that time, and it's in the back of your net and the tie's over. So when you've got a player that can decide tight games, it's brilliant. So it was great to get George, and we played Hemel away, and George scores really early on. And I think that up until that moment, up until that game really, or that game was definitely our most dominant display, where we just had everything in our game, and we score an incredible goal late on with Ruffy's individual brilliance. The first 2 goals were outstanding team goals, and the other goal was an outstanding team goal as well, actually. And defensively, we looked really solid. It was only a pot shot, really, from like a wonder shot, really, that beat us. It was a performance that just had everything. And then following on from that game, we played Yeovil at home, and it was a marker really for us that we could really do something. Like it's all well and good saying, yeah, we've evolved, we're a better team, but to get success you have to beat the best, and Yeovil are the best team in this league. That's why they've won the league, and we played them off the back of that Hemel game, and the demand from us was to go and back it up against the very best. And once again, I felt like it was a display worthy of the team and the squad that we've built. It was a game where we limited the very best to next to no chances, and it was a game where we constantly carried a threat, and for me it was only a matter of time before we scored. And then once we did score, I felt comfortable that was the 3 points in the bag because of how well we were playing and controlling the game. So those 2 games, I think they were the back end of February, at the beginning of 2024, really stand out in my mind that we're nearing the business end of the season, and we are good enough. We are good enough to achieve something this season. And then moving into March, it's funny, whenever you get into March, it's the month of my birthday, but other than that, I feel like March is a real special month, because once you get into March, you can really see the end of the season. You can really see that light at the end of the tunnel. And those games are really important to lead into the final month. It kind of decides what you're playing for. And again, there's 2 games really that stand out in my memory in March, and similar to Hemel, it was away at Truro, where it was on a Saturday night, so something a bit different. We went to Gloucester, so not down to Truro, went to Gloucester. So lots of things about that day were different, which makes it stand out. But the performance that we showed that night superseded the one against Hemel at the back end of February. It was, from start to finish, the best performance, I'd say, the most dominant performance over another National League South side that I've seen in my tenure. And again, the scoreline flattered Truro in the end. It could have easily been double figures, and that's not me being disrespectful. It's just me being full of praise for our players and how well we played as a team. And then following on from that, and again very similar to when I spoke about Welling at the start of the season, we go to Truro, where just before kick-off the referee's debating about whether to call the game off, and we travelled all that way, and in the back of our heads we were thinking, oh, we're going to have to come down here on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night, as some teams have done. But fortunately enough, the ref got the game on, and we find ourselves 2-0 down really early on. Not because we played particularly badly with the ball, but we were maybe slightly off it, or slightly off getting used to the conditions in that early period, and found ourselves 2-0 down. And then the team needed to show what we showed at Welling, what we showed a lot last year. It needed to show real togetherness. It needed to show a lot of grit, certainly determination and desire to get 3 points, and a never say die attitude. And we were 2-1 down going into added time. I think it was 94th minute we equalised, and even then I think a lesser mentality would have settled for a draw, having been 2-0 down away from home, game almost called off because of the pitch. And I think a lesser mentality would have felt comfortable taking away a point, but not our boys. They sprinted back to the halfway line, put the ball on the spot, and were ready to go again. And you just felt something at that moment. As soon as that goal went in and I saw our players sprint back to the halfway line, you just felt, it's hard to describe, you just felt that, the only thing I say is that mentality. Like, they are monsters. They are monsters with their minds, that never say die, that positivity, the belief. That's the big word, actually. The belief that they can then, with 2 minutes of injury time to go, there's still that belief that they can get the ball back and score, was something that filled me with obviously immense pride, but also immense belief that this is a team that's not only full of quality, with amazing players that can take on game plan information and put it into practice, like the previous week at Truro, but they're also a team where things can go against them and they can roll their sleeves up, join forces and get the job done, and believe right to the very, very last second. And when you get both of those in a squad or a team, you can have a wry smile like I've got now, and believe with them. And then obviously that leads us into April, and we've spoken about breaking records, and there's been a couple already that this squad and this team have broken, at the points record for the National League South, and we hope we're going to break a few more. So Yeah, the full focus is there, that's for sure. The full focus is there that this team, this group wants to make history for this football club. And I get the sense the last few home games as well, I think we've had back-to-back, well, a number of games, I think it might be even 5, 6 games in a row to finish the season where we've had over 1,000 fans inside Melbourne Park, and I think the fans are sensing something special as well. They're sensing that this team can make history. They really believe that this group can make history for this football club. And they've already done it in some aspects. They've already done it. But they're hungry. They're hungry for more. They want to... we had on our last... before our awards night, we had a team who won... I think it was the Southern League, one of the Southern Leagues, that came back and were glorified on the day, and quite rightly so. And I feel like this group are really hungry to be remembered forever by, and talked about forever by fans, and passed on from generation to generation. You know, the kids now that are coming that adore this group will speak about this group to their children, and then they will speak about it to their children. I really feel like there's a desire for this group to be remembered in the history of Chelmsford City Football Club. And that's what they deserve.